So it was big night. It was main event. And I got knocked out in 21 seconds.
Oh.
So I trained harder than I'd ever trained in my whole life. It was every
Was it a submission
moment. Or? I got knocked out. Like, first time I'd ever been knocked out in my career.
In front of everyone.
Yeah. And if you Google my name, it's the first video that comes up. So it's like, it was horrible.
So thank you very much for coming onto the podcast. I know you've just got to Dubai. I saw you came here in style, first class. So things are going well?
Things are definitely going well, yeah. First class is definitely not worth it compared to business.
Yeah, if you get the A380 business is enough.
It's more than enough. Don't bother with it. Don't waste the money. That would be my advice. But
I imagine it hasn't always been like that. What's your... did you start off as a doorman, I believe?
As everything. So at 13, I started working as a glass collector in a club or in a bar.
This is in the UK?
In the UK, yeah. In Essex, in Chelmsford. I grew up in Islington, and then when I was about 10, I moved there. And anyway, so I was a glass collector, and I worked my way through to like barman, cocktail, barman, waiter, every job you could think of, like I did. And then I ended up becoming security because I thought it'd be a better way to get chicks. And you got paid a little bit more money. I think I used to get paid £12 an hour or something like that to stand on the front door.
Did you get more chicks?
Well, the problem is, this is the problem. Yes and no, because I was tall. So that was the main reason I thought I was tough when I was a kid.
How tall are you?
6'6", so that's tall. But I worked with a guy, my partner was a guy called Jack Mason, who was this good-looking, fucking ripped, like charming bastard.
And you guys to stand next to him all night?
All night, every night. So rather than getting more chicks, I think I got less because it was like, that was the comparison. It was, that was my, if you want to call it competition, and I always lost.
Just get the sloppy seconds.
Not even that, I don't think. I don't think he had ever left anything, but yeah, no, it was a fun time. It was a fun time.
How long were you doing that for?
Probably 4 to 5 years. I moved around. We used to, I got quite a good, funny story actually. We worked at the bowling pub, which is like the West Ham pub. So every weekend, it'd be like an extra job that we had. And we'd go there for the match days. And they'd have all the West Ham fans in there, and we'd have to like not let any other fans in, and they were singing the songs, and they're quite like rowdy fans. And Jack, me worked on that door. I got the job because of Jack. And I remember one day when head of the firm, or whatever you want to call it, he was standing on the pool table singing this song. I don't know what We're Forever Blowing Bubbles or whatever it was, singing this West Ham song.
So a dangerous man.
Oh, yeah, really dangerous. And Jack was the guy who got me into fighting, and he'd had like 25 or 30 professional cage fights at this time. He's a very quiet guy, but tough. And this guy, like the barmaid said, "Oh, can you get off the table?" And he like held his dick and was like, "Ugh." And she was like, "No." And then she like got upset, and she came and told Jack. And Jack, if you think, I'll try and set the scene. It's like an old crappy pub, pool table in the middle, and like a circle of people, like full of people, all screaming, smashed, West Ham fans wearing the kit, and this one guy on the table, like round, "We're forever blowing bubbles," and everyone's like singing and chanting or whatever. And Jack just walks up and looks at him and tells him to get down, and he like swears at Jack, and Jack grabs both his ankles, pulls them, and he hits his head like, and the whole room goes dead silent. And then Jack just walks.
Did he know who he was?
Yeah. He just walks towards me. And we stand there and I go, "We probably should leave." And he's like, "No." I said, "Yeah, but he said, "No, nothing's going to happen." And we stood there like, I was waiting to get stabbed, basically, like waiting. Nothing happened. I never went back to that job.
Yeah.
But it was...
I've heard stories of doormen just doing their job, kicking people out for being rowdy, but they kick out the wrong person, like the top guy of some gang or whatever, and then 30 minutes goes by, and then a couple of cars pull up, and then chaos.
Yeah.
And it's like 2 or 3 doormen versus 10 guys.
Yeah, that's...
Have you ever been in that situation?
Once I had that. It was actually in Cambridge, because I moved to Cambridge, which isn't the most dangerous place in the world. You from Leeds, right? So,
I've been once or twice.
Yeah, it's like quite a... But I kicked out the wrong guy, and then I'm standing outside on my own. Everyone's on the inside, and like I just get destroyed by like the 3 cars pull up, loads of people get out with bats and they just do you in. That's kind of when I was fighting at the time, and that's when I decided this probably isn't the right move, like to be working in security and fighting professionally, because when you're fighting, your body is everything, obviously, like your career, and you were putting your career at danger every weekend. Even like when you get into an altercation and you hurt your hand, or you hurt your, like if you don't get hit, but you hit someone, for example. Not that I would hit people on the doors, just so you know. And then my hand would hurt, and then I couldn't train, or I'd put it. It's not worth it. So if you wanted to take it seriously, I had to give up that income. But when you're fighting professionally or at a lower level, making no money, it's like
you need a side job.
It's a good side job because you get paid okay, and you could train all day and then work at night. But I had to give it up because I saw the direction it was going, and I was struggling with it. But yeah, it's
what did you learn during that time as a doorman?
I
guess you get like a lot of street smarts.
Yeah, I think I got a lot of like understanding body language, posture, how altercations begin, what to look out for, how people, communication skills, you know, how to deal with people in the right way so they didn't start trouble, all this sort of stuff. But the main one I would say is like awareness, perspication, I think is what people would call it.
So how would you know if somebody is actually hard as fuck versus somebody who's just chatting? Is there a way to tell?
I mean, the craziest guy that I ever dealt with is a gypsy in Peterborough, because I used to do the doors in Peterborough, and he was about this big. I can't remember his name. Everyone who's watching it who lives in the area will know him, because he's like, this is 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But he was a professional boxer, and he was loud and rare, really, really rowdy, and no one ever messed with him. And I was like, why not? He's a little kid, just tell him to shut up, you know what I mean? But he was dangerous, really dangerous, you know, because he come from a gypsy family, and they were all, you know. So he was like the exception to the rule, because normally the dangerous people are very quiet and very stoic, and you would never know. But this guy was like loud and in your face and a nightmare. So I never threw him out, because it was kind of like a rule that you can't throw this guy out, otherwise it's going to start a problem. But I had a lot of like interactions with him. But it's more the group dynamics, when you're watching a group and you can see like arguments begin and how it's going to happen. And it's always, without fail, a woman's fault. Without fail. It's never guys. It's always woman is the nucleus of the problem, even if they're not there. Like there'll be why that guy's upset. Obviously they'll be drinking or whatever, but it will always come back down to like a relationship thing or being insulted. Even if it's money, it always comes via a woman. Like that's what I worked out from being on the doors for so long, that if you like most fights, 95% of fights and back starts because of a woman.
That's mad.
Yeah, like women cause problems.
But I would say as well, alcohol is also a big stimulant for a fight. Anytime I've seen a fight, from just my own experience, 90% of the time it's been either at a club, a bar, or alcohol's been involved.
Yeah, that's when it comes out. That's when all the emotion, all the problems. And we were talking about this before. I got a friend, Sartorial, some of you might know him, and he's recently converted to Islam. And he said one of the fables, or whatever you want to call it in Islam, is that Shaitan, which is the devil, speaks to men via women. So the devil can get in your ear via a woman. He also said the devil can get in your ear via alcohol, which is why it's haram not to drink, and it's haram to just go out and be with as many women as you want in Islam. You know, they can have women, but it has a different way, and that's why men are supposed to be with men. Like within Islam, I'm not Muslim, but just from these lessons he's told to me, like men communicate with men, and women, like if I had my woman, you wouldn't speak to her because there's nothing for you to speak to her about. And that's how the devil enters your brain or your mind or whatever, is through women. It's one of the tricks he uses according to Islam, or Shaitan, which is slightly different. And alcohol's a big one. And alcohol is obviously the accelerant of all the problems, but for me it always just came back down to women. Even if it's like the guy wants to show off and wants to be proud, and you accidentally bump into him and he's like, what's up, bro? It's because
his woman's there watching.
Yeah, exactly. Or there's a woman there that he likes watching, or there's some dynamic to it. And when you're sitting there or standing there 6-8 hours quiet, just watching these dynamics unfold, you see everyone, you know what I mean? From every angle, every place, because you got nothing else to do. You're like studying the dynamic of the situation, and there's always, you can see the like guy look at the girl and think, oh, she's all right. And then try and do something and it's just embarrassing. Fucking, I've seen a lot of embarrassing shit.
Yeah. But you just know you've got to be ready to rock.
Yeah, of course. You've got to be switched on. Code red would always be the thing that would go off in your ear when there was a fight. So, and every time I worked with Jack and there was a code red, he was never there because he was chatting to some woman. And then we'd try and, I'd get hold of the guy and I'd try and throw him out the door, the fire exit, and Jack would be in the way because he'd be out the fire exit with some woman. So, and not me, because I never got any of them because they're all with him. There's no pain, no, but yeah, it was funny.
So, at what point did he get into fighting?
Because of Jack. So
was he the guy? Because I listened to a podcast, and one of the reasons you got into fighting was because some smaller guy absolutely threw you about.
Okay,
and you were like,
yeah. So that's not Jack. That's my coach. Eventually became my coach, Robbie, who was like 5'5", fought 66 kilos, so it's like 70 key. But we worked together, and one night, stupidly, now I said like, he's 5'10", I'm 6'6". Not that 5'10's short, but to me he was short, and I'd like, what are you gonna do, bro? I just hold your head and just punch you. You got no chance, making jokes, but I'm not quite. I'm probably the most competitive man alive. So any sort of competition, I was like, we'll fight. Okay, come to the gym and we'll have a fight. So he used to train at a place in Cambridge called Tsunami Gym. So we drove from Essex, which is like an hour and a half, to go train on a Tuesday or a Thursday. I can't remember when it was. And he would go there twice a week or 3 times a week making that journey. And I said, I'll come and I'll fuck you up. You know what I mean? And I went, and I didn't train with Jack. I trained with a guy called Robbie Olivier and a guy at the time called AJ Wen as well. But Robbie, 5'5", 66 kilo, and he just
66 kilo,
just murdered me. Like
what was it? This was like MMA.
Yeah, it was MMA. It was MMA at the time. This is 16 years ago or 17 years ago. So there was no MMA gyms. This was like Tsunami was like one of the first ones, but they had like jiu-jitsu, boxing, like all the different things, and that was like, it was like the pro fighters class. So I went to like a sparring day. So I just showed up with Jack, and he said, "No, you're not sparring me. You're going to spar this guy." And I was like, "Okay," and I got destroyed. Like it was such a moment of clarity because. I think this is the thing. Every man on the planet thinks they can fight. Not everyone, but to an extent, and they over exaggerate their skill set like you would not believe. And that was me. I was like, fine. It's a 66 kilo, 5'5" guy threw me around, armbarred me. I'm squealing, tapping, choked me. I'm tapping, punching me. I'm tapping. Like he just destroyed me. And then I went with AJ. Same thing happened. Then I went with a guy called John Maguire, who he fought in UFC as well, and destroyed me. And everyone got spar Jack. And I remember the journey home in the car. I'm like, so much shame, And he just. People that know Jack, that he has this smirk, and he just sits there like smirking. Didn't say anything. He just smirks. He's like, "Yeah, you see." I was like, "Fuck, okay." And at the time, Jack had 20 professional fights or something. So if I'd have sparred with him, I would have got destroyed. So it was a good lesson. It was a good lesson.
So after that, you became obsessed with getting better.
After that, I became ashamed. I felt like deep shame, and I thought, if I'm going to be a doorman, I'm going to be a man, and I'm going to walk the streets and feel like I got to be able to protect myself. So I can't walk the streets confidently now, knowing that anyone, that could look like Robbie, my coach, could just do whatever. He could do whatever he wanted to me. And I felt like so much shame in it. I needed to improve. So then I started training every day, and I joined a jiu-jitsu club, a Thai boxing club, any club I could. And I'd travel with Jack to Tsunami, which was like every Tuesday and Thursday. I used to work in London, so I'd get the train to London. I'd be up at 6, train to London, go to the gym, go to work, go to the gym on my lunch break, then get back and then drive an hour and a half and train at Tsunami, and then come home and then go to sleep and do all over again. But it built up slowly. And with the Tsunami trip, it was like my opportunity to train with professional fighters. Because you can't just walk into it, like then there wasn't any, But now, if you go to a club, they'll put you in the beginner's class. There was no beginner's class back then. There was just a fighters class. So I was lucky to know Jack, be invited. It's almost like a private club, and
So you literally get to train with the best.
Yeah, so I got so I would look forward to those sessions every time because I get to test myself against the best guys in the country, pretty much. And I got destroyed for months on months on months on months. And Jack, he had a lot of people. I want to be a fighter. I want to do this. I want to train, and go with him to Tsunami. And they'd go 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then never come back. Because it's horrible.
It's not a great feeling sucking at something, particularly that, when you're literally just going to get thrown about.
Yeah, it's just ego. It's just absolute ego. Like, you have this ego. You think you're a capable man that can do this thing, and you go there and you find out you're not. And it's such a long road to getting to the point where you feel, especially when you're, these guys are getting better too. So you've got to get better quicker than them, and you're so far behind. So I think it was about 5 or 6 months in, Jack was like, "Oh, you're still here." Like, well done. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I can feel myself getting better. And he was like, okay. Jack's a very quiet guy. Like, he didn't say a lot. But you could tell he had some respect for me because I was always showing up. I never missed a session. Like, through my whole career, I never missed a session. There's another guy called Alexander Gustafsson. He fought Jon Jones a couple of times. He fought for the world title 3 times. Very high level light heavyweight in UFC. And I went to a camp with him for 8 weeks, and he brought like 10 different light heavyweights to the camp. I was a middleweight, so I wasn't even the right weight class. And I was at every single session that I wanted to be at. And over the 8 weeks, was the only one left. People got injured, they didn't come back, they missed out sessions or whatever it was. So I ended up cornering him against Jon Jones because I was the only one who showed up to all the sessions. And I would spar 5 rounds with Alex and then 5 rounds with a guy called E013, who was now a heavyweight in the UFC and he's Albanian, very, very deadly guy. But I just show up. And that's been my motto, if you want to call it, in life. Like, if I just keep going, I'm going to get better. I'm sure it's the same with lifting, right? It's consistency that matters. It's not talent or any other bullshit. It's like, if you're consistent and you always do it and you do what you need to do.
It's like not an option. You got to go regardless of how you feel. You just need to go.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Exactly. If you get it done, you're going to get a little bit better, And that's how I approach fighting, because I started so late. I was like 18, 19, 20, that sort of age.
Is that considered late?
Super late. Like, now it's crazy late, but then it was still, most people have been training since they were 4 years old, doing some sort of wrestling, or they did it at school. They'd been boxing, whatever. Like, in America, it's all collegiate wrestling and all that sort of stuff. So I started super late. And then I knew I had to make up ground. So I was training at such a furious pace. And I actually started at 19, had my first fight at 20. And then I had my first fight in the UFC at 25. So it took me 5 years to go from knowing nothing, an amateur guy, to fighting in the UFC.
How do you get, I'm curious about this, how do you get to actually fight in the UFC? Like, how do you qualify to be able to have a fight?
Now it's slightly harder now, or easier.
So what year was it when you went?
2013. I fought my first fight in the UFC, I believe. I was 25. So
it was like, just when it was quite new, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been around for a while now, but it was in the UK and in Europe, but no one knew what it was. I think it's 30 years old now, the UFC. So it's we're talking 10 years ago. So it was probably about 15 in. So it'd been going for about 15 years, but very, very quiet. And this was before the Conor McGregor age, before all that sort of stuff. He really changed it all up. We actually joined the UFC pretty similar times. He was a little bit later than me, I think. But I'd watched his career grow from Cage Warriors and from the beginning, But yeah,
so how do you get that first fight then?
Well, I got it through a TV show, which is a reality TV show called The Ultimate Fighter. So what you do is you have to, I'll explain the story because it's a long story. Well, not that long, but I'll try and make it short. So I was 5-0 as a professional. So now in fighting, the difference between amateur and professional is just that you get paid to fight. But I could pay you £20 to fight. Doesn't mean that you're good. Like, a professional fighter and an amateur fighter, I would honestly believe amateurs are probably better than most professionals. Like, the lower level professionals, like 5 fights, 10 fights, the amateurs are probably better. Because now there's the amateur world championships. People have had 30, 40 amateur fights, and it's becoming more like boxing. But a lot of guys that start a bit late, they'll jump straight into pro because it's your choice. There's no like, you just do whatever you want. So okay, I'm going to have a pro fight. And then the only difference is you get paid by a promotion to fight.
Is that riskier though? Because of the chance of you getting faced with a better opponent?
Well, depends. Again, depends on the level. It just comes down to like if you're pro, there's guys, how do I explain it? There's guys that are like hobbyists that want to have a pro fight. There's guys that train every day. All they care about is fighting. So if you're a hobbyist and it comes down to the matchmaking. So if the matchmaker wants to look after a certain guy, it's very easy. Just like in boxing, you see it like they call them journeymen, right? You get a guy that's like on the way up and they just feed him with these lower level guys. So it's more about your management or your coach or your contacts, like everything in life, that can help you progress faster. I was super, super lucky because I knew Jack. Jack introduced me to the Tsunami Gym. He introduced me to John and Robbie, who were like, they were in it, you know, and knew everything. So I had 10 amateur fights in the space of 12 months, which in that era was unheard of because no one had amateur fights. They just went straight to pro, you know? And then I had my first pro fight. And then by the time I had 5, I went on The Ultimate Fighter. So The Ultimate Fighter is a TV program like Big Brother, but with fighting. So every week on the show, there'll be a fight. You've got 7 guys on each team, 2 teams of 7, so 14 in total that fight off in like a pyramid to get to the final. And you all live together in a house, like both teams live together. You eat with your opponent, you're like in the same house, all that sort of stuff. And then you end up fighting. The Ultimate Fighter, I think they're on the season 30 or something now. Connor's doing it with Michael Chandler. So it's like huge. So if you don't go through the Ultimate Fighter, you have to build up a record and your management needs to approach the UFC and say, oh, I've got this guy, he's 10-0, blah, blah, blah. And they go to like Sean Shelby or Mick Maynard and they email them and they send like a CV, like getting a job. And they'll look at them and think, okay, that guy deserves to be in the UFC. But
does it improve your chances if you have more eyeballs on you, more
100%,
followers?
100%. That's
that'll bring more guys that may potentially pay for the pay-per-view.
Which is what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the entertainment business. It's the fighting business. It's not the sport. That's what people have to remember. So it's all about eyes. It's all about a name. It's all about marketing. It's all about content. It's all about brand. It's not about fighting so much. Yeah. Obviously, the best fighters get there eventually because you can't hold them back, you know?
That's why Conor did so well with it because he was charismatic. He was crazy personality.
Put bums on seats. Yeah. He's the guy who like made people want to watch him fight. So he sold tickets, he made money. And we got this huge thing recently with Francis Ngannou, the heavyweight champion, who left the UFC, right? He left contract and he fell out and he was asking for $10 million or something to fight Jon Jones, which when you're the heavyweight champion in the world, you think you deserve that. But the only reason like Francis Ngannou is anyone is because of Dana White and the UFC. Without Dana White in the UFC, he's still shoveling sand in Cameroon or wherever he's from, you know. Like then he now gets to a certain level and he's demanding this stuff, you know.
Like the boxing, because boxers they get paid a lot better, don't they?
Yeah, well, because there isn't this is a huge discussion between MMA and boxing. Dana White. That people believe Dana White is like holding everyone back from making all this money like they do in boxing, because boxing is like self-promotion and people run the events and all that sort of stuff and they make pay-per-view money. And my argument, I was in the UFC, I didn't get paid amazingly well, you know, like I as a professional athlete and all the effort and the years I put into it. And people think Dana's the enemy, but without Dana, none of it exists. Yeah. So it's like he's now a billionaire or whatever he's become because of it. Good on him. He invented the whole thing. So unless you sell tickets and put bums on seats and are entertaining like Conor, you don't deserve to make the money. Yeah. They can take it, in my opinion. And there's all these unions and people fighting against it. And I understand. It's almost like, and it will change. Once Dana's gone, it will change. But he deserves everything he's had and everything he's got. And because without him, it doesn't exist. Without the Fertitta brothers, it doesn't exist. The sport is not the same. So for Francis Ngannou to complain about money when he used to shovel sand in Cameroon and now he's a millionaire, it blows my mind, personally, you know? But he doesn't understand and I get it'll be his managers and everyone else, Dana's holding him back, but he should just be grateful for the position.
Opportunity, isn't it?
Without the UFC, you're nothing. And we'll see that because now he's left and he's talking about having a boxing fight against Tyson Fury and maybe he'll make some money. Cool, good luck. But it's not sustainable. He'll have one or two, then that'll be it. You know, or join Bellator or all this other thing. You know, I could go into it forever. But my point of it is that, like, people hate on Dana because he's the boss. He's a private company. He can do whatever he wants. You just got to understand that, you know. Go fight somewhere else. That's what he always says. And people get angry about it. So if you're so good and you're going to make so much money and you're worth so much, go fight somewhere else and prove it. Yeah. You know? And it's like, you can't because everyone wants to fight in UFC. So that brand power that he's developed and the thing that he's made, it's unquestionable in my opinion.
Who are your top 3 fighters, current or past, that you rate?
Like greatest of all time, like GOATs.
Yeah.
It's such a stupid conversation, but it's like saying who's better, Batman or Superman, because you're never going to see it happen, but I'll do it anyway. Jon Jones has got to be the best ever. I hate Jon Jones with all my heart, but he's got to be the best ever. Like now, he just won the heavyweight title and he was ridiculous. So to go back to my story, I was on The Ultimate Fighter and Jon Jones was one of the coaches. So you have 2 UFC coaches, like celebrity coaches, and I had Chael Sonnen and Jon Jones. And Jon Jones was the other team and I was the number 1 pick for Chael Sonnen. So I was on Chael Sonnen's team. And that's not why I hate Jon Jones. But I saw from that experience that Jones was like, it was in it for himself, which is fine, but he was like just about him. Chael was about the team and the people. He was a coach. He was giving. So every week on a Sunday or a Saturday, whenever it was, you'd have like group training. So they'd be training all week, and then on a Sunday you'd have group training, and anyone could go, even the other team, because you all live together if you want to train together, whatever. And Chael came to every session and worked out with the other team, because you got to think, it's like you idolize this person, you know. So the other team are on Jon Jones' team, but they still like Chael, you know. So they want to meet Chael and they want to speak to Chael. And Chael was at every session, wrestling with people, doing whatever, you know. Jones didn't show up to one session, showed up drunk to some of the training. He just was a nightmare. And I remember walking behind Jon Jones. He was a kid. He was my age. He was 25, 26, and he was world champion and he billionaire and smashing it. So I can understand. But we were walking through the arena at the UFC backstage, and the security stopped him, you know, and they said, "Oh no, you need a pass to come in." And he went crazy. Like, "Do you not know who I am?" And I was just standing behind him because I was just waiting. And he's like, "I'm the light heavyweight champion of the world. You shouldn't treat me like this," all this sort of stuff. And he turned around and he saw me, and then he completely changed. Then he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir," blah, 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 because he didn't want to be known as a bad guy.
So that was like the real him.
The real him was him shouting at the security guard.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden he saw me and he was like, you know, and I was like, okay, this guy, I don't like this guy. And then from that moment onwards, over the time, he's had loads of bad moments and whatever else has happened to him. I'm not judging him in that sense. I'm just saying you could tell that his character, you could tell he was going down that road. Mm-hmm. You know, like now maybe he's matured, he's 35 or wherever he is, and he's come back. But I think you got to be a special person to fight. You got to have a special personality to be the level that he has, because he's the best in the world.
I think it must be quite difficult to be that well known and that capable how do you stop that from getting to your head?
Exactly, which is why I'm saying I don't blame him for it at 25 or 20. Yeah. I think he was world champion at 21, you know, or 23, or the youngest world champion ever. Like, I get it, but Chael on the other side, as everyone hated Chael because he was a bit like Conor. He was like the old version of Conor, like in my opinion, a bit better in a certain way. But everyone hated him. But he was the nicest guy in the world. Like, he was there for everybody. I went and trained with him in Portland afterwards for 6 months, and he showed up at my house with I mentioned how expensive it was to get free-range chicken in the States, because you have to go to Whole Foods, and all the other chicken is disgusting. Yeah. Like, food in America is rotten. And I said that to him, and then the next day he showed up with like $1,000 worth of food, you know, like just with his wife. Just like that, I didn't need it, but thank you so much. And he little things like that. He did it forever, and I still speak to him now, and he's been a real great guy forever since I met him. So comparing the two, I just feel like I had like the good and the bad, you know. But anyway, go back to the story. Jon Jones, number one, greatest of all time, as fucked up as he is. As a fighter, he's incredible. George St. Pierre, for me, is number two.
He's entertaining as well.
Yeah, and he's the complete opposite to Jones, as in like he's like the perfect mixed martial artist, calm, very, very, very nice guy. And then number three is very hard. Greatest of all time. It's either I'm gonna say Jose Aldo, which people who are watching this who are UFC fans are gonna go crazy, but I'm gonna say Jose Aldo because he ruled the featherweight division for like it's a generational question. I'm 35, so anyone who's my age will probably agree. Anyone who's in their 20s will think I'm crazy, and they'll probably say Conor, Khabib, and all these other people. And yeah, it's just like a generational thing, and you can go to the generation before. But Jose was the reason the UFC started the featherweight division. So without Jose Aldo, there would be no featherweight division. So I think he deserves to be up there. But he just carried on doing it. He carried on fighting. He got knocked out by Conor, and then he's never found his...
Well, it'd be hard to come back from that.
Yeah.
That's one of the craziest things about fighting is you're putting a lot of your reputation on the line. And if something potentially embarrassing happens or you get knocked out early like that, I can't imagine how much that must mess with your head.
That happened to me. So I fought a guy called Mamed Khalidov, who's a Chechnyan/Polish fighter outside the UFC. So when I left the UFC in 2016, I think it was, or 17, I went on a 5-fight win streak outside. I was a champion in a European promotion called Venator, and I carried on fighting at middleweight. And then I got offered to go back to the UFC. So they said, I was Joe Silver at that time, contacted me that I could come back. I was pushing for it because it was like my goal. I wanted to be one of the first Europeans to leave and come back and all this sort of stuff. And I got offered a contract back at the same money that when I left. And I also at the same time got offered a fight against Mamed Khalidov. And Mamed Khalidov at the time was ranked 7th in the world. So he was outside the UFC because he used to fight he still fights for a show called KSW, which is the big, like a very, very big European show. And he was like the big star and he was getting paid like very well. And he had very good sponsorship and all that sort of stuff. So the UFC approached him a couple of times, but they offered him like small money, which is what they always do. And he was like, no, I'm good. I'm making great money. So he stayed outside the UFC, but still, you know, one of the greatest middleweights of all time, Mamed Khalidov, who's still fighting. He just fought a heavyweight and beat heavyweight champion as well. You can go and Google it. But I was offered this fight, Khalidov or back to the UFC. And I'd looked up to Khalidov like for a long time because he's European, like everyone knew him. And I was like, me being me and being who I am, I was like, fight Khalidov, beat Khalidov, go back to the UFC and make big money because I'll be in the top 10 in the world, blah, 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 whatever, you know? So I decided to go the Khalidov route. I fought him in Manchester Arena for a show called ACB. I got paid okay, was all good. I sold 400 tickets, all my family, all my wife's family, because my wife's from Liverpool, so all of my wife's family were there, all my family was there, all my mates, you know, I hadn't fought in England for a long time, been in the UFC, all this sort of stuff. So it was a big, big night. It was main event, and I got knocked out in 21 seconds. Oh. So I trained harder than I'd ever trained in my whole life. It was every
was it a submission moment.
Or? I got knocked out. Like first time I'd ever been knocked out in my career.
In front of everyone.
Yeah. And if you Google my name, it's the first video that comes up. So it's like, it was horrible. So I remember, like, it was probably the darkest moment of my life, even if you want to say that, like, which is a bit sad when I think about it now, but probably was.
I can imagine.
Definitely my professional career, 100%. I remember breaking down in the changing rooms, in the showers, like I was destroyed, absolutely destroyed. And I got hit with an overhand right, knocked out instantly. But my body continued, so I was out. But so if you watch the fight and the video, there's like me like this, and he just keeps hitting me. And then I drop, and then he keeps hitting me. And I was out, like from the first punch. So that moment and how dark it was, it teaches you a lot about yourself. Because
not many men have been in that situation.
It was miserable. I can't even explain it. I remember pretending I was okay. That's what you kind of do to start with. Like, I'll be all right, I'll come back. And I think that was the moment now retrospectively looking back after that fight, so you're going, I was in UFC for a while, I went through the Armour fight, I had a great time. I was in UFC, had a great time. Even I lost 3 fights in UFC, 2 split decisions that I definitely won. Dana even said that I won them, so bullshit. I fought a guy called Mark Munoz in the Philippines. I got smashed, beat the crap out of me, and then I got released from UFC. When I got released from UFC, went back to England, I went on 5 fights, smashed everybody, was all good. Like, I had a great time in the UFC. I had a great time in the Armour fight. I was doing great there. That fight, when I lost, I think that's when I should have retired. But I had another 12 or 13 or 14 fights. I mean, I'm 34 now, so I could still be fighting. I'm still young, you know, in the sporting world. But I kind of put it like this. It's like when you love a woman for the first time and she breaks your heart.
Yeah.
You never really give yourself fully to a woman ever again. Really, you know, we're never as open as we were because we're guarded, right?
Yeah.
So I never fully gave myself to fighting after that moment. I never really 100% believed I was going to be the best in the world. I never 100% trained like a madman. I trained hard for the other fights. I won most of my other fights. I lost and won, but I was broken internally by that fight, by that moment. And now, you know, it must be 7 years later. I retired a couple of years ago. I've never officially retired, but I probably won't fight again. And I should have, there's no point. Those other 12 fights was just brain damage for no reason. Like I wasn't committed to doing it. And I realize that now, but at the time I had front. Okay.
What else are you going to do? Like, because if fighting is all you know, what is the other option?
But this is the issue. So this is, because I got asked this question recently. Is fighting the hardest thing you've ever done? And I was like, fighting's hard. Like unbelievably hard. You can't put it into a podcast or describe it. It's unbelievable. But leaving fighting and giving up fighting is way harder. Because like I said, I'm 34. It's so easy to fall back into the fighter's frame and just to train, wake up, eat twice a day, train twice a day, eat my meals. It's so easy to do for me. For someone who's never had a fight, it sounds crazy, but it's so easy. Fighting's easy because I know it inside out, everything about it, everyone in the business, every show, it's my whole world. It's my whole world for 15 years. So stopping that, stepping outside, I used to wake up every day and know exactly who I was and who I needed to be and what I needed to do. Then you give up and you wake up and you're like, what am I going to do? Who am I? You know, it's your whole identity completely taken away from you. So giving that up and having to reinvent myself into a new person is way harder than fighting. So I think that's been my last 2 years or 2.5 years. But I was doing it already. That's why I decided to give up, because I had my last 4 fights, I think, or a couple of fights, I like won, lost, whatever. And I won and I felt nothing. I was like, I won, I've had 50 fights, like whatever. I lost, I felt nothing. I was like, what's the point in doing this? Why am I putting my body through this? There's no emotion to it. You're meant to feel and win and feel on top of the world. And you're doing it for that rush and for that moment. I completely lost that. Then when I lost, I was like, I'll have another one in 3 months. It's okay. I made a bit of money. And then when I realized I was doing it for money, my last fight was in Kazakhstan. I can't even remember the guy's name. That's what I mean. I don't remember the guy's name of the guy I fought because I didn't give a shit. And I went to Manchester because my business partner is in Manchester and I train at his gym, Manchester Top Team. And I even said out loud, like, I'm just fighting for the money. And when I realized that, I was like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
You can't just fight for the money. Unless you're making 10 million, like what is the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah. At that point in time, was that your only source of income?
My only real source of it. I had like other small things, like I owned a gym and I had a few bits, but nothing substantial. So that was like how I was supporting my family, and yeah, that's how I was living pretty much.
So what did you do then? Like you decided to stop. That was probably the last paycheck you were going to get from fighting.
Yeah, I'd saved up quite a bit of money. I'm terrible at saving money, but luckily my wife is fantastic. So she put me on the right road, and we were living in Spain, just outside Marbella, living like quite a simple life. So I'd managed to accumulate quite a bit of money through the UFC, through everything. I managed to have a bit of money. So I had some time to just kind of like think. And I had the gym, so I was busy going to the gym, and that kept the wheels turning, but it wasn't making me any money. I still have the gym; it still isn't making me any money. But it was then really I realized that I wanted to do something big. And I used to say when I was in the UFC, I'm going to do something amazing with my life, and this isn't it. Like, this isn't who I am. So I need to do something else. And then randomly, we all know the guy, but like Andrew Tate came to see me in Marbella. He was doing like a rally, and he ended up in Marbella, and I met up with him for a drink.
How long ago was this?
4 years ago, maybe 3 years
So
ago.
obviously, yeah, nobody at the time, I guess nobody knew him.
No, he was making money, but he wasn't very well known. So to give a bit of backstory, I fought Andrew like 13, 15, 14 years ago in MMA. And him and his brother used to come up to the gym in Cambridge and train with me, and we'd hang out and all that sort of stuff. So I've known him for a very, very long time. And then he was coming to Marbella for doing some car rally, and I met him in some terrible pool party place. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember the name of the rally now. I'm trying to think of the name of it. But it was a new pool party place, and I'd never been there, and he was there, and I was like, why are you there? And we had like a 2-hour chat, just standing there like talking about life. How are you? Catching up, whatever. And he told me like, bro, I've been where you are. I know what it's like, because he was a 4-time world champion kickboxer. He gave up. He had no money. Had no money. Like he was broke when he used to, because I needed his help to prepare for a fight when I was in the UFC. A guy called Andrew Craig. He was like a good kickboxer. So I asked Andrew to come up, and I was like paying for his train fare. You know what I mean? Like he had no money. So when he gave up and he started making money, I made that like connection with him again, and he was talking to me about it, and I knew he'd been where I was, and we had a big long discussion about life and all this stuff. And that was it really. And I just kind of left him, and I started thinking. And then he did a webinar on money. So I followed him on Instagram, and he said, I'm doing a webinar on money. It was like $20 or something to do. I did that. And he mentioned crypto. So I was like, I was into crypto a little bit, but not really. But he mentioned crypto. And so I texted him like, bro, what's this crypto stuff? I want to get involved. And he said, talk to my cousin. So I spoke to him. Luke. Yeah, Luke. So talk to my cousin Luke, and join the war room. So that's what he said to me. I was like, sweet, okay. And I messaged Luke. He said, join the war room, and then we got this whole thing. So I joined this thing called the war room. I didn't know what it was. And I joined just because I wanted to learn about crypto, because I had a bit of money and I wanted to invest it, you know, but I knew dick about crypto. I knew nothing.
Did you have like 6 figures or something?
Not quite 6 figures. Oh, no, I had 6 figures. Sorry. Not quite 7 figures is what I was thinking, but I had 6 figures, over 6 figures easily. And I was trying to work out what to do with it. You know, buy a house for my family, do whatever. So I joined this this group, and it was just, this is, again, like 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And there was a room that was just dedicated to crypto. They would all discuss crypto. So I had nothing to do because I wasn't fighting anymore. I had
a little crypto nerd.
I became a proper crypto nerd, and I got really into it, and I was learning all about it, and I started investing, and I did okay. And then within the network, they were giving little tips. And one of the tips was to buy Solana. And they were saying to buy Solana, I think it was like $5. And I was like, okay, so I chucked a bit of money into that, and it went from $5. I got it at about $7, and it went up to like 265 or something like that, where I tiered out and sold out. So I made a bit of money, you know, like fair amount. But then a guy called Daniel Kelly moved to Marbella, who's in the network, and he said to me like, "Oh, we're gonna run an event, and you should come." And I was like, why would I go to some event with a load of guys? I'm trying to find it. And he said, no, it's good because you'll make contacts and you'll network and you'll meet people. And I've always been a guy like this, you know, with blinkers on. Like I've been so focused on fighting. It's all I cared about. So I was a very, very driven, focused guy. Even when I was a kid, I was driven and focused on computer games. Like I was a nerd. And then I became driven and focused on fighting. So I didn't understand the like, idea of networking and meeting people. For what? Why am I meeting these people? I don't know them. But he said, oh no, it's good for you. You should definitely come. So I went to this event, and I met all these I think there was like 20 guys, 18, 20 guys, all in completely different fields, talking about all this stuff that I didn't understand. The story I remember is like talking about sales funnels, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And I was like, I remember being at dinner, everyone talking about sales funnels, and I'm a very confident guy. So I was just like, what is a sales funnel? And I just sounded like a child, you know what I mean? Because all these guys are like high-end businessmen making over 6 figures a month, some of them, you know, like, I was just like, what is this? I don't know what it is. Like, what are you guys talking about? And they were talking about, I can't remember exactly, but anyway. And then they explained it to me, and I was like, oh, okay. And I just seemed like a retard, you know what I mean? But I learned a lot. I learned a lot from it. And then I saw like the value of knowing these people. Then Tate actually came back to Marbella, and I was chatting to him about the experience, and he goes, that's it, bro. There's people that, like, you have a very, very specific skill set and you're incredible at it. These guys know how to monetize it. Mm-hmm. All these people you're talking to about sales funnels, all these nerds or whatever you want to call them, like, because that's how I saw it, because I was this big fighter guy, you know. It's like, they know how to make money. You don't have a fucking clue how to make money. You know, he said to me, and I was like, no. So what
was your skill set?
Being mentality, fighting, you know, like fitness, understanding the human mind and going through these dark moments, and coaching. What I realized is, because I had the gym for 7 years and I was coaching people, but I'm not, it's fighting is more of a mental sport than a physical sport.
Well, even getting in shape is mental as well. Like, everybody knows you need to go to the gym, you need to push yourself, you need to eat the right things, but people still just don't do it because mentally they don't have the capacity to be disciplined.
Exactly. So understanding that and laying it out to people in a very direct and simple way is a skill set, you know, and I had that every day with 16-year-old broke kids in Spain, like teach them how to fight. And I just understand, and they'd be like, oh yeah, but I'm tired, or I get hurt, or shut up, bro, just get it done. You know, like it would drive me crazy. And most of that mindset, obviously I get it through fighting and through my family and everything else. But I go back to Jack, my mate Jack. I remember asking him a question because we do these long drives to Cambridge and back. And I asked him, because he used to work in like pension funds in banking or something. And I was like, what are your working hours? And he laughed at me. And he just said, I work until the job is done. Right? And I was like, he goes, I can work whenever I want. Like, my boss never bothers me, because she knows when she gives me a job, I'll work till the job is done. That's it. So when the job is done, I can do whatever I want. I don't have to go to work from 9 till 6 or whatever these losers do. This is how he said it to me. And it really stuck with me. And this is 16 years ago, and I remember it word for word when he said it. And I took that mentality from there as well. Like, I work until the job is done. Anything I have, I just work until I finish it. And I've done that through fighting.
It's a good attitude to have.
Work until the job's done. You don't have working hours. Like,
you don't take the weekend off.
No. And then if you look into the weekend, what the weekend is, it's invented for factory workers to give them a break. Like, it's invented for slaves. That's what the week and the weekend. Like, if you want to make money, you work weekends, you work nights, I work like all the time. I'm always working. Everything is work, you know? But I don't bitch about it. I enjoy it because I like to work, because I want to become better, you know what I mean? But the guys who don't have that mindset, and they think of things, I don't even understand how they think about life, you know what I mean? Like, you want to become better, but you don't want to work.
Yeah. The most successful people I have been around and even interviewed, they are working all the time. But they, like you said, they're not complaining about it. The majority of them probably enjoy it to some extent. And some people just, they have it in them. They can't just sit there and do nothing. I
think that's what it is. I can't sit still. So this is where I think my mindset works with coach, because now I'm coaching other people on this as well. Like I'm saying, I went from coaching kids doing MMA, and it's all mindset training. Like, I just teaching them to become better fighters. But like you just said, training people in the gym is the same. It all comes down to mindset and consistency and all these tasks. I've just now gone to doing that and coaching people that have businesses that make bullshit excuses about their life, like, oh, I'm too busy, or I don't have time, and all this. And they just, oh, my wife's complaining, or whatever, you know. And I do one-on-one coaching with these guys to level out their lives. So they have, you know, we talk about what makes up a very complete man. You know, and money and business is one thing, but this is like Tate's philosophy as well. This comes from, like, money and business is one thing, but that alone is worthless. Because if you're a crypto nerd, which we used that phrase earlier like I was, but if you're a crypto nerd, but you're not in physical good condition, you don't know how to talk to people, you don't know how to build relationships, and what are you worth? Like if you go to meet somebody and you shake their hand, you go, "I got loads of money." Cool, because you bought some JPEGs. Like it doesn't make you a high value person.
Yeah.
What makes you a high value person is understanding how business and money works, but then also understanding relationships and how to deal with people and talk to women and talk to business partners and go to meetings and stand in a room and people pay attention to you, you know, and then be physically in shape, mentally in shape. That's one that everyone forgets, is like mentally being good, you know, and being healthy, because most people focus on the result and the body and everything else, but they don't think about what's going on in the mind. And what I do through my life experience of fighting at the highest level is I deal with people that can't handle pressure, which is normally what happens. Like people that make loads of money, they start, what you do, this is what we go back to the fighting analogy, when I said quitting fighting was the hardest thing I had to do. Because when you get stuck in a lane, so say your lane is making money. Maybe you've got an IT company and developing software, you're great at it. That's your comfort zone. And your comfort zone's super successful when you're making loads of money, but that doesn't make you like a complete man, just sitting in that lane. So you're in this lane, making your software, but you're out of shape. You don't know how to speak to women. So you're just buying women in one way or another, flying them here, doing that, whatever it's going to be. And they don't really respect you because they just kind of use you. You know, it's like that whole dynamic is so common in the world. And it's like, that all comes down to mindset. It all comes down to these people not understanding their own value and not understanding how to shift what they're doing in their IT company into everything else in their life. And once they start shifting and we always start with physical fitness, like strength training or running or whatever it's going to be, gets hard. Mm-hmm. You know, you're in amazing shape. So you've been there. It's like, if you're pushing yourself to the limit, that then transfers over to everything. So then if you've pushed yourself in the limit in the gym, then when you're at work and you're typing away and you're like, "Oh, I'm tired," you just keep working. Because why stop?
You deal with being uncomfortable, some element of discomfort.
So my mentality or whatever it is, however it got developed, again, you said the word like uncomfortable. There's a guy called Lee Dosky who coined this phrase with me. He said, the only reason Luke's good at fighting is because he's comfortable with the uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And that was like me going to the gym, getting beaten up for month on end, sparring with people that are just better than me, and they would beat the crap out of me, but me be okay. And there used to be, I remember when he said it to me, because I was in the cage getting beaten up at the time when he said it, I was like, a guy was above me, I was on the ground, someone was ground and pound and hit me in the head. And he said, "Luke, you're just comfortable with the uncomfortable." And I turned to him and like laughed, you know what I mean? And I'm getting hit in the head. But I just become so accustomed to the fighting environment, because I just put myself in it all the time, that I was comfortable. And now it's not allowing that to only be in one lane and putting it across all the different places. So go back to, I'm at a table with people that are talking about sales funnels. As soon as I leave that place, I'm looking up what a sales funnel is. I now have my own sales funnel. You know what I mean? Because I've spent the time being uncomfortable, feeling like an idiot, and having to work out all this stuff that I don't understand. And now I understand it. And now I'm selling products with a sales funnel and making money. So it's like, but most people can't take the bruising of their ego to be a beginner again. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So like this IT guy who's phenomenal and maybe has a load of employees who respect him and look up to him, and if he says shut up, they shut up, he gets a false understanding of who he is. Mm-hmm. And then when he goes into a bar or he goes into a social situation that he's not used to, he's like scared because he's not the boss. It's like, so it's understanding how to...
Sometimes they just resort to drinking to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, or drugs. Yeah. Or, you know, and that's, again, if you've got a company, got money, and you're smashing it in one area of your life, but you're struggling to put it into the other areas, like, you're not a great guy. You know what I mean? Just because you're good at one thing. Being good at something isn't good enough. You know what I mean? You have to be good at everything, I think now.
What is the most common area that the men you're dealing with, what do they struggle with?
Weight, you know, and women. Those are two, health and women. But it's understanding the dynamics of a relationship is a big problem for them. Like, because
I guess they've been so focused on their work that they don't have the experience with women.
Most guys who make it, like they're like I was with fighting. They're so focused that they don't even worry about that stuff. which is, in my opinion, the right way to do it. If you want to excel at something at a young age.
Get distracted by women.
Yeah, women are just going to drag you down at that stage. It's like, especially as a man, this is a big Tateism thing, but like an 18-year-old man is worthless, really, like to a woman. Like it's worthless, has nothing. It's very, very difficult to be a high-value individual at 18 years old. You don't have character, you don't have life experience, you don't have stories, you very rarely have money or money that you've made yourself, like very rarely at 18 you've got. So you don't have communication skills, you don't have confidence, you're not in great shape, like all these things. Like, so how do you do that? But an 18-year-old girl or a 19 or a 20-year-old girl who's beautiful is different, you know? So guys should focus on the things that make them better and making money and doing all that stuff. But then when they get to 25, 30, this is what most of these guys do. They get into their early 30s and they've been focusing so much on building a business and doing all this sort of stuff, they forget about all the other stuff. And then when they try and revisit it, they're so out of practice and society's now so messed up that they see what other people are doing and they try and emulate it, but it's like followers following followers, and they're just doing it all wrong. You know what I mean? So it's very common that they're fat and out of shape and they don't know how to get in shape. And like you said, it comes down to consistency and everything else. But same with women. They're afraid of rejection. They don't want to talk to a woman. They think you have to speak to women online now because that's how the society does it. So they're scared to approach a girl and talk to her. It's like, why are you scared to approach her? You're a multi-millionaire, successful man, and you won't go talk to a girl in a bar because she might tell you to go away. Like, how can you be considered an important person if you can't walk up to another human being and say, hi, my name's Luke, how are you? You can't do that. Like, how can you look yourself in the mirror in the morning and feel confident? I don't understand it.
So I guess that the most important thing is to sort your physical condition out.
So we'll kind of say it goes in order. So normally it should be physical condition, mental condition, relationships with men and with women, and then from there go on to business and making money. But a lot of guys, because of what we just described, how the value matrix changed, they focus on this one first, they succeed in it, and then they struggle with the other ones. So what I do is make them do physically challenging exercise, which then can make them build confidence up in themselves and understand that they're because most guys think that, especially when fighting's the best one, like boxing. They think if they get hit, like they're like made of glass. You know what I mean? We are so much more durable as humans than people understand. So when you're so afraid to get hit, when you get hit, okay, if you freak out, then you get used to it, you know, and then you realize, okay, this isn't that bad. So that's like a very, very eye-opening moment, you know, like, and then from there they can take that on to all the other things. Like I said, being rejected by a woman, like, okay, how bad is that? What's wrong with walking up to a girl and saying something and her telling you to go away? It doesn't affect your life, but they think it does, you know, because they're so proud and they have this ego and all these other things. So we start with the physical fitness because it pushes them in uncomfortable, awkward situations, and they have to. I'm sure you've seen it coaching guys back in the past as well. Like they're breathing heavy and they're like, oh, I don't want to do this. And they feel like they're going to throw up. And once you can move through that barrier, you're like training your mind to like break through glass ceilings.
It's interesting what you said, because I spent probably 4 or 5 years just coaching people, training people in person. And I think back and I used to think, well, I did that for too long. Like, I didn't need to be doing that for so long. But what I realize now is I got so good at communicating with people and understanding people that then helped me be better when it came to social media and making videos. Because every time I was talking to the camera, I was talking to it as if it was one of my clients. And I could simplify complex topics and make it easy for them to digest. I understood what mistakes they're most likely going to make, and I tried to make it as simple and easy for them to understand. I think that's what helped me grow pretty fast online.
And that's, again, so that's communication, right? So you physically in shape, your communication's on point, money come next.
Yeah.
So this whole concept is what I've been, like I said, we'll go back to 2.5, 3 years ago when I left UFC and I didn't know what I was going to do in my life. When I joined this group of men that I'm in part of now with the War Room, like that's what they taught me. And then having that network of people that are so good at all of these different things that I have access to and I can speak to. And if I come up with an idea, I can literally just message anyone who is a specialist in that field. So, and they'll help you because you're part of this group. And if I'm in Dubai, I mean, there's a load of guys here in Dubai that are part of the group. If I'm in Marbella, if I'm in London, if I'm in Kazakhstan, if I'm in wherever we are in the world, there's loads of people, or they've been there and they know someone, and it's been incredible. Like, it's excelled. You tell me your communication and your understanding of people made you excel in making videos. For me, I didn't have to learn any of the lessons. Like, I didn't have to learn anything because I just ask a guy and he knows it. So straight away for me, the online sales side of business and selling courses and selling products, which I would never even think of, like, it would never enter my mind to sell a product online. When I was a fighter, it would never enter my mind. I wouldn't never think there was a market for it. Now it's how I made all my money, you know. So that network that I have, it just, the speed that it gave me, like how I developed, blew my mind.
I get a lot. I mean, this past year has been pretty crazy for me in terms of the expansion of the network and the people that I'm meeting, and it 100% makes such a massive difference. But I'm starting to get a lot of questions about, well, how do you network? Like, if you're a nobody, or maybe you're a younger kid, not a huge amount to offer in terms of value, how does someone like that improve their own network?
Well, I get the same question every day. So it's like, the question is the same as girls. Like, how do I find a beautiful woman, right? You become a guy who attracts beautiful women, right? So if you want to join, like, I built myself up, you know, as I was fought in the UFC as an elite level athlete. My life I'd grown. I wasn't a nobody in as such, but the network side of things, if you're 18, 19, 20, and you're trying to find capable men to be around, I mean, we're in Dubai for a reason, right? Because this place is a networking haven. Everyone's here. But you need to put yourself in positions where you're going to meet elite level people. I think I watched Tate, and he's mentioned, like, the main reason he bought the Bugatti was to join the Bugatti club, because then he knew he'd be in a room full of people that own Bugattis, and there's 60 or 65 or whatever it is. Like, that's a networking move. Everyone thinks he bought the car because it's fast, which it is too. But, you know, it's like understanding that and putting yourself in situations. Not everyone can buy a Bugatti, including myself, but it's understanding that putting yourself in those situations is how you improve the network. So if you don't have a network and you live and you're isolated, move. Like, I had a guy message me recently who lives in the middle of nowhere in Ireland. So I just moved to Dublin. Like, at least you're going to be in the right environment with people. Like, and then if you're searching for it too much, concentrate on yourself. Like, the network comes when you become capable. If you've got nothing to offer, because we have this thing in the war room, we're trying to create, like, groups of men that can create things together. So people are trying to move close to each other, even live together and improve their network. But then you just have a kid come to where you live with nothing to offer and just wants everything that you have. So you have to have something to give back. That's how networking works. Offer value. Yeah. Go to people and say, and help them for nothing. Just help, learn, help. So if you're a young kid, focus on being in shape and being healthy is the number one thing, the most important thing. You could be a billionaire and be unhealthy and have an unhealthy mind, and your life's shit. So focus on being in shape. I think fighting as a young man is extremely, extremely important, because it takes you to dark, horrible places that you'll never get anywhere else. And then put yourself in situations where you're going to meet other high-level people. You have to get to a certain level. Unfortunately, that's the reality of life. You know, like, if you want to meet certain people, then you have to surround yourself with certain people. So you have to become that person. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The shortcut is to join a network. You know, like the war room, you can join for a fee.
You have to pay for it.
You have to pay for it. But once you pay for it, you're, like I said,
it's a fast track.
It's a fast track to get there, you know. But still within the network, if you're not willing to improve and put the work in, you're not going to last very long. We have a lot of guys that join the war room, and then I didn't get any value out of this. We have no value to add. So you have to be prepared to add value. And if you're prepared to add value and you're looking for a network, it's a perfect opportunity, you know, like to fast track yourself. If you live in the middle of nowhere and you're looking for it, it's great. You know, the best thing we have about the war room is that the geographical freedom that it comes with. You know, everyone's all over the place. You have this nomad culture where people just work from everywhere. They're very, very heavily focused on having more than one passport and being able to live in different networks and different grids. And we have people that can help facilitate that as well. So if you're trying to move around and you want to come to Dubai, we have everyone everywhere in touch with everything you could think of. So if you have any problems with getting there, you can just write in the network. So that's a very huge part of it, is helping people, facilitating people to be able to have freedom and move, because that's our like philosophy, being able to be free and be wherever we want. I'm all over the world all the time. And whenever I go anywhere, I'm going to London next week for the UFC. I'll meet brothers in London that I can hang out with, and they know the spots to go to and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, for young guys, it's difficult.
Has the organization been impacted in any way with the Tates being in prison?
I mean, obviously, it's been a huge thing, but the organization itself is separate. We're just missing the brothers, but the organization itself is completely separate from that. And we've been focusing, a lot of people are focusing on helping that situation, and we have a lot of work and time going into it, especially from the guys like myself in leadership and helping out. But most of it has just been continuing like normal, you know, because we have layers of different people in control, and Tate and Thrst just sit at the top.
Yeah. I would have half expected some of the members to pull some magic and pull some strings and then get out. But
well, I think the issue is that's what's happening. But you could, and we could, but it's not going to be the way that he wants to do it.
Yeah.
He wants to be, you know, for all this to disappear, it needs to go through the judicial system in Romania and come out clean. Yeah. You know, if we did it any other way, it
can't go storm the place.
No, can't storm, say, blow it up. Trust me, it's been suggested, but it's not. He don't want that. You know, he wants to beat this clean and fair, and I'm sure he will. And it's, you know, not far away now. Mm-hmm. So every day it's getting closer and closer. And anyone in the world, anyone else was in the same situation, like they don't understand how much power this is giving Andrew. You know, like he's a guy that comes from nothing, that is used to what they think he's being like punished or whatever. This is just giving him the best hero story in the world.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people, I can see it now. Anytime I see a video recently, like all the comment section, like everyone's on his side now. He's like become the underdog.
Yeah. But before he was like, oh, we need to keep this guy quiet or whatever it was. Now people are starting to realize, like, okay, maybe everything he's saying is true. Yeah. You know, and they're trying to hide him and they're trying to put him, which is, well, we all know it's true, but I'm just saying it's like, it's actually working negatively for them and positively for him. He's just got to sit in a cell. Like, sucks when you've had the life that he's had, but it's worth it. You know, it's going to be worth the sacrifice. And he knows. Have anyone who can turn a negative situation into a positive one and make money out of it. This is a $1 billion like opportunity for him. He will make billions of dollars because of this story that he has been given. Mm-hmm. So obviously I feel for them and it sucks that they're inside, but I know it's going to come out positive. You know, and everyone within the organization feels the same way, and we all know we're all trying to do everything we can to fight against it, but it's got to run its course the way it's going to go, and it has to go through the certain avenues for it to work out.
He's a guy, I mean, I can't imagine the amount of stress that he's under. And even myself, as things have progressed, you know, my revenue streams, businesses, they're becoming bigger. I had to get more staff involved. I'm starting to notice that my mind is running more than usual. I'm facing stress on a more regular basis. What is your best advice to try and deal with stress?
Reframe the word stress. Like, for me, I want the stress. Mm-hmm. So again, we said about, I understand what you're saying, but
I don't want it to go away. I just want to, I want to increase my tolerance of stress. Yeah. So I want more stress to come my way, but I just want to be able to not affect me.
Well, I mean, for me, when you get stress in your life, it means that they say like that you can judge a man by the size of his problems, right? So I see stress as like a positive thing. So you say about your mind's always ticking. Maybe you struggle to sleep. I don't know. Yes. Like as you go through that. So one of the main ways I combat the problem with sleep is it's this basic information that you probably know, but like not looking at my phone about an hour to 30 minutes before I go to sleep and writing down all of my thoughts. So I have like a notepad by my bed, and before I go to sleep, anything that I'm just going around my brain, like, oh, tomorrow I've got to do this, I'm going to have this guy, I'm going to do whatever, I just write it all out. It's like I empty my brain, you know, and that when I empty my brain, then I find relaxation in it. I know I have that there, so I can forget about all this stuff going on, because I know it's there. And when I wake up, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to get on with it, and it's going to be completed. So I'm kind of like emptying it to one side and putting it over here. So I feel like that's an extreme to help with sleep. Like that has helped me massively. But for me, I want the stress. I believe the more stress I can get put in my life, the more problems I can have, the more things I face, the better I'm going to become. So I actually reframe it into a positive. Like you just said, you're more stressful because you're now more successful. You're making more money. You've got more employees. It's all great. It's all positive. And if you want to build yourself up to be the man that I know you're on the way to becoming, then it's positive. You know what I mean? So it's not. I think dealing with it is accepting it and accepting that you want it. You know, not like, oh, how do I deal with it? I feel like, no, give it to me. You know, give it to me. And again, Tate, as you say, is a guy. That's something I realized about him because I've known him a very long time. And he's obviously, stress has changed. When you're with the guy, he is switched on every second of every moment of you never.
I've seen him at parties and he's not interested. Like half the time he's business.
Yeah, business. Because he knows he's got to get stuff done. But what I even mean, like I drove him around Marbella for a few days and he'd enter the car and his posture's perfect. He sits there on his phone, he's working, whatever. And I was driving around all night, like 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is. Like, you never see him yawn, you never see him get tired. Honestly,
he doesn't eat either.
No, he eats once a day. Like, it's this crazy thing. But I understand that he's built it up over time because he wasn't like that forever, you know? And I find myself now, like, when I'm on the plane coming here, I was like chilling, you know, like this or that. It's just, Tate would never do that. You would never see him in public ever looking relaxed because he would be on, because he's thinking. And I thought about that and I got my phone out and I started working and I thought of a great idea. You know, so it's like, I think being put under pressure and being put under stress, it's only positive when you frame it in a positive way and you utilize all your time. The reason you're probably upset at it or feeling the pain of it is you might be slacking off in some way. You know what I mean? Or like,
I think a lot of the time I know there's things I need to be doing and I'm not doing it because I'm just fanning about a beach club or even, Yeah,
so you're not doing the thing that you know is there. You've got to get it done. So it's like eating at you and you feel stressed and you feel like, oh, I need to, but I want to go to this pool party or I want to go there. Just get it done.
I think I know the person that I want to be and the success I want to achieve. That's going to come at a price. And I know there's things which I have been doing, which I'm just going to have to stop doing.
Yeah,
but that is just the price. And I think a lot of people need to understand that if they want to become highly successful, you know, they look at like social media and Instagram and just be like, oh, this person's just chilling, like at the beach, just living the good life. But I think they don't understand like the actual work that is required. Like I said, it's like these people aren't having weekends off.
No.
These people are working every day, all day.
Yeah, of course.
Until the job is done, maybe they have a little bit of a break and then on to the next.
And I think a way that, because we talk about goal setting, you just said the man that you want to become, you know, you have a vision of who you want to be and you understand how you're going to get there and all that sort of stuff, because I know you. But most people, they like set goals and they achieve that goal and then they fuck around. Like what do they do?
Like I've done that many times. So
what happens is I always say that you like reach a peak and then you start to plateau. And there's no such thing as plateauing. Right, so I'm plateauing means you're going down.
Yeah.
Like if you're not going up, you're going down. There's no like, oh, I'm just staying around here. Same in fitness, right? Like when you're in shape, if you're lifting, you don't just stay there. You know what I mean? You like, if you stop doing the work that you were doing, it goes on the decline, right? So the way I battle that is actually from Arnold Schwarzenegger when he had the 80% rule. So I would set a goal. Let's use weightlifting as an example, just because it's the easiest way to do it and it's mathematical. I want to bench press 100 kilos. And I can currently bench plus 80 kilos, for example. And I want to bench press 100 for 8. Boom. And I'm going to do it by doing this. I get to 95 kilos, and that's the moment I need to reset my goal to 110 kilos or 120 kilos. If I don't reset my goal at that moment and I reach 100, it's an empty feeling because what I worked at, and this came from me from fighting. Actually, you'll know the guy. I speak to a lot of people, but you know, David Hay was a boxer, right? So me and David met a fighting event. Actually, I fought UFC London, and he was there so many years ago. We became pals, and he came out to Marbella to visit me a few times. We had some long, deep conversations about his career and I obviously looked up to this guy. He was heavyweight champion of the world, all this sort of stuff. So I was like, this guy's an idol of mine. And then he was like talking about how he achieved certain goals and they felt empty, you know, and he was saying, and I was like, how can this guy feel empty achieving this? He was on the front cover of Ring magazine and I felt nothing. I thought like, well, is this it? You know, and then more successful people I met, the more conversations I had like that. And I realized like that achieving the thing that you want, it's almost like you're lying to yourself. Like you don't actually want that thing. Like use Hay as an example. Hay didn't want to be on the front cover of Ring magazine. He wanted to be the man that is capable of being on front of Ring magazine. You know, on the front cover. He wanted to be the guy that someone would look at and go, oh, he should be on the front cover of Ring. Like he didn't actually want to be on the cover. The actual thing doesn't matter. Yeah. But the problem is, once you become the guy capable of achieving that thing, then you achieve it. And then that thing's not good enough.
Yeah.
Because you want this thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that emptiness that you feel
you said the same thing about a Lambo, that a lot of people think that they want to have a Lambo, but what they really want is just the capability to afford one.
Yeah. Or to be the guy that deserves one, not even afford it. Like I could afford a Lambo, but it doesn't mean anything to me. You know what I mean? I want to be the guy that deserves to own one. It's like a different thing, I think. Because it's like, if I've got the consistent revenue coming into my account of 100 grand a month, I could then maybe buy a Lambo. If I got 200 grand in the bank, you're not a guy that should be buying one. You know what I mean? But it's like, once you get it and you drive it for a week, Tate talks about this all the time. He's got 37 cars or whatever it is. It's like, just because he keeps buying them, because you drive it for a week, you think, it doesn't matter. These things don't matter. So you're not bothered about the object. You're not bothered about the goal. You're bothered about becoming the man that can achieve that goal. So the way to combat that empty feeling is just to keep setting the goal higher before you achieve it. Because then you never have like this. Like you just have upward trajectory because you get there and you then, so the big secret, in my opinion, is before you achieve the goal, you get to the 80% mark, you reset the goal, right? So let's again use bench press. I'm at 80 kilos, I want to be 100 kilos, get to 95 kilos, I set it to 120 kilos. But then when I get to 100 kilos, you have to show gratitude for that moment. You still have to be like proud of yourself and happy and not just looking here. You have to think, 3 months ago I wanted to be here and now I'm here. This is cool. You know, and have to be proud of it. If you miss that pride bit and that gratitude bit, that's when you go a bit crazy, I think. And you like the forward drive doesn't, that's when you get burnt out. That's when you start like treating people badly or getting stressed or doing all these things because you don't appreciate how far you've come. Instagram is a fantastic tool for that, or for me anyway, because I look back sometimes. I don't know if you do this, but like I scroll back through my Instagram, like way back.
It's pretty embarrassing for me.
Yeah. So for me too. And sometimes you archive some of the pictures, but it's like, you can look back at like, so we didn't tell my full story, but like when I fought in the UFC, I left my job and everything else to pursue my dream, and I lived in the gym and I slept on the floor in my gym for like 2.5 years. I ended up having a bed behind the thing, but like I used to sleep on the floor. You know what I mean? Now I'm in Dubai with Mike Thurston doing a podcast, you know, with that beautiful light show in the background. You know, it's like, if you don't look back at where you used to be, you never get the appreciation of where you've come. And you just think forward, which is what I did. Because when I was fighting, it was always like, who's the next opponent? Okay, I'm going to beat this guy. Once I beat this guy, I want to beat this guy. And you would just get like, again, in this phase, and I would win. I got to the UFC. I knew I was going to get to the UFC. I'm in the UFC, no problem. I'm going to be, and I had no fulfillment from it. And that's where the emptiness came from. And I learned that, like speaking to David and just everyone, I'm now surrounded by uber successful people, like super deca millionaires, 100 million, whatever you want to call it. And they're all the same. They all have that like emptiness when they achieve things, because it's...
Do these individuals feel like they have a purpose? Because I know one of your things is helping these guys to find their purpose.
Yeah, clarity of purpose is what I call it, which is we went to when I had fighting, I woke up every morning with understanding of what I wanted, clarity of what I wanted. And that's what I exactly helped them do. Most of them, you put yourself on like a scale of value. They value themselves as what they do. You know what I mean? Like not the man that they are, but what they to their business. Their business is their value. And if you do that, and you're only going to focus on making that better. You're not going to focus on making yourself better, like becoming a better man. You're going to focus on that tech company that I've got. That defines who I am.
I had the same thing, that I would judge my value based on just my physique. And I realized that was quite a dangerous thing to do. And it's definitely not sustainable.
That's a very physical and great analogy for it. It's actually like the best one because, like you said, it's impossible to sustain because we're going to get older and it's just impossible. So, but you can see it in the eye. These guys, the reason they get trapped in it is because it's like a business. It's like an entity that they become. Like me, like I said, I was a fighter and that was my personality. That was my identity. UFC Luke Barnatt, that was it. So if I just pin my life on that thing, it's not sustainable as a UFC fighter because by 40, you're done. You know what I mean? So then you get depressed, then you get to do drugs, then you get fat, then you become Ricky Hatton or someone like that who's just drinking all the time because he couldn't pin his identity to anything else. So that's when you have to like broaden your outlook and not value yourself on this thing. You have to value yourself on, like I said, the 3 parts of what makes a man great, like your physical condition, your mental health, your relationships, your communication, and then your relationship with money. Just because you've got money doesn't mean you know how to spend it. I know that sounds like stupid, but so many people have a lot of money and they don't even know what to buy or what to spend it on and how, or what the value of things are. And they just, they end up buying bullshit because they think it'll make them happy and it doesn't make them happy. And then they go into like a negative spiral. So it's like, if you go across the 3 pillars and you start, you know, building 3 different identities across this and channeling it into the worth that you have. I always say this about women, which is slightly different, but women value themselves on their looks, right? On beauty. Again, it's not sustainable because they're going to get old. So if you're a beautiful woman and you're 25 years old or 23 years old or 18 years old, you have to value yourself on what you can provide. You're not on what you look like. Like you said, your physique's never good. So if you just value your physique, you're doomed. You're doomed to like desperate, dark moments. That's what happens to women. They get to their 30s and they start thinking, oh, no. It's like, because they don't value what they provide as a woman, as a mother, as a, that's got no value in society. They're just valued on what they look like. And that's the problem. So for men, that comes down to the value of their business or that one entity that they have. They think this is the most important thing in my life, but it's not. If I took that all away from you and you were just nobody, again, I took everything. You had no money, no clothes, no car, no house. That is who you are. So build that person up, build your skill sets, build your relationship skills. You walk into a room and you can deal with any moment and any situation. Like that is who you are. You know, you're not the car you drive or the house you have, you know, and we live in such a materialistic world and listen,
especially there's too many people with nice things that like doesn't mean anything.
But it doesn't mean you can't enjoy them. I'm not saying this. You go on my Instagram, you'll see I'm driving Ferraris and enjoying life and living in nice cars and flying first class and doing all this stuff. It's like, it's important.
But it's not like now, it's not enough. Like that doesn't make you a valuable person.
Doesn't define you. That's the most important. It doesn't define you. And this is actually within the network. We talk about this very, very regularly because we have, like I said, hundreds of millions and people in there. And we say, okay, if you lost everything tomorrow, who are you? It's a very, very common question that we ask in the group. And you have to think like, could you make the money back? Have you got a network, a skill set? Are you a person that's capable? Or are you just lucked out, got this business, smashed it, because you worked out some algorithm that made you a load of money? Like, is that value? So are you a guy that people want to meet or people want to talk to? When you go to a party, do you leave an impression? Like, do people leave like, oh, I met that guy, that's value, you know, having character, going through, I always say men, that's what I said about young guys struggle, but men are really like their life experiences, the journey that they go through, the stories that they tell, that's what makes men interesting. Nothing else, really, you know. So saying yes to things and doing things and taking on challenges and living life is way more important than making money. But it's a very, that's, so once you have money, these guys that I deal with, that I coach, they've already mastered this side of life, but they struggle with the rest of it. And they're so scared of like looking like a fool. That's what it all comes down to. I don't want to look bad. Like, who cares? You're going to die one day and you're going to look back at life and be like, oh, I got loads of money. Who cares? No way. It doesn't mean anything. And another Tateism or a Tate phrase, money isn't real. Like when you start thinking like that and you start understanding the banking system and what they're doing with money and where we are, obviously all money does is buy you experience and give you freedom. So spend it on experiences and freedom. Yeah. Like, I don't get it. Don't waste your life like slaving away to create something that no one cares about.
What would you say to guys who come up to you and say, my purpose is to have kids and raise amazing?
Great. If that truly makes you happy. This is the thing that I think Tate got slandered for, and all this, like when he talks about women and all this sort of stuff. I've got 2 kids, 2 girls, 3 and 1. They're amazing, and nothing brings me more joy than when my daughter tells me something about what she did at swimming. Why do you like swimming, darling? Oh, because I get to wear a pink swimming costume. Just makes me laugh, and it's joy. Like, there's no joy like it, I was saying, winning a fight in the UFC, or my daughter saying that to me, daughter wins every day. But so some guys are just built for that, and that is all they want and all they're going to have. It's like, we can't all be superheroes. We can't all run $1 million companies. We can't all conquer the world. Like, it's not how it works. As long as you are actually fulfilled, great. But I think most of them, 90% of them, are just lying to themselves because they're not willing to take the risk. That's the reality. But some people, good on you. If you're happy, cool. I know a few people like that are happy. My dad was a photographer. I learned so much from my dad. So my dad was a photographer for like rock bands. Like, he did pictures of Led Zeppelin, ACDC, Rod Stewart, all these like high-end celebrities, lived a sick life. And he's the most content man I've ever met. He's just like, oh, nice. Well, he doesn't care. He's cheap. He doesn't, not bothered. There's a story of my dad when my mum and my dad, they went to an event. I can't remember exactly what it was. And it was black tie. My dad didn't own a suit. He's just not bothered about that side of life. Not materialistic in any way. Couldn't care less what people think about him. He's just not bothered. Well, he's what every man really wants to be. Men really don't want to care about what other people think. We all do, but you don't want to. But he somehow, I think because of all the people that he'd spent time with, the mega superstars, he realized like something special that none of it matters. And he got invited to this thing. It was at a very, very famous hotel in London. I can't remember the name of it right now, but back then it mattered because it was in the 70s. And he didn't want to go in black tie, so he painted his shoes black. His brown shoes got painted black because he was like, I'm not buying a pair of shoes to go to some fun. Like, I don't care about it. So he painted them black just because my mum wouldn't go with him otherwise. So, and they won some raffle for like a fruit basket or a bottle of champagne or whatever it was. And my dad had to go collect it. But because it was so hot in the room, his paint on his shoes had started like leaking off. So my mum was drunk, so she saw that he was, so she like grabbed him and threw him down, and she had to go up and get the fruit basket like a drunk. But my dad, like, through those things and the stories he's told me, you could tell that he's so content with life because he's lived such a vivid and fantastic life and had so many stories to tell, and he's very happy, But he didn't rule the world. He didn't have $1 million business. My dad did all right. He didn't do amazing, but he's loads of. We always say my dad could have been a millionaire 10 times over, but he just didn't really care about that. He cared about. He's a creative guy. He likes his work on his computer and his family, and then he's completely content. So he's not like lied and pretended, because he come and visit me and he just has a coffee and never going to complain about anything. He's just a super.
My dad's the same. Never complains, just super content with his life.
And I think that's a generational thing now, with the way we live and the way what we see and what we're. My dad would never know that there was a Dubai. Yeah. You know what I mean? He just wouldn't even whatever. Like. My dad is a travel photographer after he did rock photography, and he used to travel the world and take pictures. And I used to always ask him, like, he took pictures of the pyramids, Taj Mahal, like all these sort of things. I'd be like, where should I go? It's all shit, son. That's what he used to say. I'd be like, what do you mean? The wonders of the world. He goes, it's all just marketing. Like, he tells this story about going to the pyramids, and he's like, it's just bricks in a triangle. And he's right, but what happens in the world is we invest so much time and effort and money into going to see these things. We come back from our holiday and it has to be the best thing that happened. I went to see the pyramids, it was amazing, blah, 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 because some guy who works a normal job has saved up and used his holiday days to go see the pyramids. So he's not going to say it was crap, because my dad, he just didn't, it's like the curtain was pulled back, you know what I mean? He says, it's all just, he's the guy who's got to take the pictures and market it a certain way and make it look amazing and all that sort of stuff. So he just didn't, that's how he kind of looked at life. Like, it's all right. It's all right. But what's more important is being at home with your family and enjoying life, you know? And he had, because of travel photography and everything else, he wasn't around much when I was growing up. But he had like a second shot of family because I've got a stepsister and all that sort of half-sister. What do you call it? He had a half-sister?
Yeah, I think so.
Not stepsister, because he had a girl with another woman. So, yeah, half-sister. She's my half-sister. So she's 16, so she's 18 now. But he's been a very, very, very apparent parent, like there a lot and been with her a lot, where he wasn't with me because he was traveling, doing all this sort of stuff. So he's seen both sides of the coin, and I talked to him about it quite a lot. And he's like, it's more important to be at home. I've got 2 kids. I'm here in Dubai and I'm working. So
how are you managing that? You're married.
Yeah.
And you have these kids, but you obviously, your job requires you to be on the move quite a lot.
Well, I think that's because I'm the son of my father, right? So when I look at my dad, my dad wasn't around much. Who cares? Like, I'm proud. My dad's like my hero, you know? So he looks at it differently to me. I'm like, if he didn't do what he did and achieve what he did and was the man that he is, I wouldn't be proud of it. So when I'm home, I try and have impactful time with my family and spend time with them. I'm still very, very young, my kids. But I think this happens a lot in relationships, in marriages, everything is like you're attracted to somebody. Let's just say the man, like the woman's attracted to the man because of who the man is. And then you get together. That man stops being that man because he starts appeasing the wife and being happy with the wife and staying there and like, oh, I don't want you to go out because I want this, I want to watch Netflix, I want to. So you end up just being with your girlfriend or your wife every night, sitting there watching TV and not doing anything. It's like they didn't fall in love with that person. They didn't fall in love with the person that just sits there and watches TV. They fell in love with the guy that goes out there and hunts and does whatever. For me, it was fighting. So I was going out and challenging and overcoming challenges every single day. If I take that out of my life, I'm not happy because that's what I feel like I was born to do, take on challenges and conquer. And she really isn't happy because she wants to be in love with a man that's out there and conquering, because that's why she fell in love with you in the first place. So it kind of like, it's like twisted, and you think that that's what you want to do and be happy because you're together. But when I come home, I'm there and I'm very, very, with my family all the time. And I spend a lot of great time with them and I have impact on their lives, especially my wife. And we just moved house and everything's going great. And then I go away again and I come back. I go away and I come back, but I always come back. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel from my dad, that's the lesson I learned as a child, like looking up to my dad. My daughters, okay, I might not be around every day and I might not take them to school every day or whatever it's going to be, but I'm living my life and they'll be proud of me. When they're older, they'll be proud of what I've achieved and the life that I've given them and everything that I've managed, to do. And if I stop doing that to try and spend more time with them, it's like what do you get from that? I think that's a big problem in society. I think you've been trained to think that we should both be at home all the time and we should have an equal relationship with our kids. And it's like, I
can't see myself being that type of guy.
No, but good. Yeah. I think you'll be happier and more fulfilled. And my wife's an amazing mum, amazing. And I think she will be more fulfilled with the job that she has done. But she is told by society that it's not enough.
The husband needs to be there all the time.
Not just that, not from my side, from her side. She's told it's not enough. She wants to get a job. She wants to do this. And it's like, why? I don't understand why you feel that you need to work. You don't need to make money. I make enough money. Don't worry about it. You get everything that you need. So I want you to raise our kids and to be there for them. You are the mother, and that whole dynamic, I think, has been destroyed by dad should be there, equality, bob, 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 bob. And I feel like no one's happy in that relationship. Some people maybe, but no one I know is happy. Like, someone needs to be the leader. I'm not saying it can't be the woman, even like if you want to go this way and make it not for me, not for you, but I'm not, for some people, maybe the woman leads because the guy is not like that. And the guy is more maternal and wants to be with the kids. Cool. If that works, fine. I don't think it does, but if it does, fine. For me, I lead the relationship and I lead the family, and she is there as my equal, but not in the same roles. You know what I mean? Like she fills all the void. We're like yin and yang. I'm the guy who goes out and makes the money and does the hunting, and she's the one that looks after the kids and is loving and teaches them all of the lessons that she's going to teach them. But the problem is she gets told she's wrong, and all of her friends and her family tell her that I should be around more because society has told us that we should all be there. No, it's not right. I'm more fulfilled going out and delivering and going out there and making money and like I get so much joy from closing a deal. You know, from selling someone, from doing so. Like, you can't replace that. It's not the same. Hunting is different. So I'm going to be unhappy. If I'm at home all the time, I'm going to be unhappy. You want a husband to be unhappy raising 2 kids? No, I want to be happy. I want to be proud. I want to come back. I want to have amazing moments with my family, and I want them to be proud of me. And it just makes way more sense to me. But people shit on the idea and think it's bad to want to live your life. I think the most important thing is that you live to your full potential as a man, and your wife lives to her full potential as a woman. I want her to be as happy as I want to be, you know? So it's like, if I sacrifice my happiness for my kids, it's like, it doesn't work because I'm unhappy. So I'm an unhappy man raising kids who are going to turn out to be unhappy. Whereas if I'm a happy man,
they don't want to see an unhappy
They don't want to see an unhappy dad. They don't want to say, I believe in energy. I believe like we will have a frequency and a vibration. And I think if you're out there winning, you're at this vibration. And if you're at home depressed and upset, you're at this vibration. So I'm admitting that vibration to my kids. You know, I don't want that. I want to come home and I want to give that vibration and that energy to my children that they're going to be winners. My kids are going to be winners. Like, it's simple, you know? So I think that's a big misleading or misguiding thing in society now, that whole husband should be at home all the time, wife should. And I'm not saying that the husband should never cook a meal or the husband shouldn't take out the trash or whatever. I'm just saying, like, there needs to be, it's 2 sides of a coin. That's what makes a good relationship. Not everyone doing the same thing. This whole ethos that we should all be the same is just ludicrous, in my opinion. Like, doesn't make any sense.
Have you got any advice for men who are thinking about getting married? Like, what do they need to look out for? Because the thing is, I'm happy to see that you are married and you're still married, and it sounds like everything's going good. But I've come across a lot of guys who, older guys, many of them who have been married, they get divorced. And that's something which I don't want to go through. I don't think anybody really wants to go through a divorce. So how, is there any way to avoid it?
I think the whole idea of marriage now is like, I met my wife 10 years ago or 11 years ago. Within a year, I proposed, and within 2 years, we were married. So I was like, boom. Now I know guys that have been with women for 9 years. They're not married. Oh, we're going to get married next year. Why? Like, there's no necessity to get married now. Like, it doesn't matter, in my opinion. The women think it does because they want a wedding, like whatever. But legally, like it's all to do with the church and all this sort of stuff, and that's all kind of gone away now. So if you want to raise a family, it's different to being married. If you want to make that commitment to someone, I think it comes down to what you want out from life, what you're looking for. I fell in love with my wife and we got married like that. I didn't have to think about it, whatever. Now, if you set yourself up to fall out of love and to get divorced, it's very, very common. Obviously, I think it's like 80% now or something crazy, like 75%.
I think in America, there's a 50% divorce rate.
I think it's higher. I think that's just probably, but yeah, it's like, because most guys are doing it too early, or they're settling for people that they don't really love, and they're just doing it because they think they should, or they're getting bullied into doing it. So it's like, I married my wife like straight away, because I just knew she was for me. And I think if you set frames in a relationship a certain way, that it's very hard to understand what women want from a relationship and what you want from a relationship as you develop as a man. And I'm not saying I'll never get divorced, because it could happen. You know, like we could drift apart and it's fine. But I think this whole ideology that you need to get married is a problem.
Yeah.
You know, and it comes from Disney and from all these other things that we get taught as kids, that like you get pushed into marriage. I think being married now in this society that is so insane.
It's wild.
Yeah, like I think even if you're questioning it, I don't see the necessity for it. Just because you're not married doesn't mean that you're not going to be with someone forever. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be 80 and be happy with a woman. Like, it doesn't mean those things if you fulfill those things that she needs. I think like a legal binding contract that says that you're married, I don't see the necessity for it anymore like it used to have. But if it's something that you want, then I think the best thing to do to set that up is to think of the characteristics in a woman that you want, and don't think about how good looking she is. Yeah. You know, beauty's going to fade. Like, it's an obvious thing. But
like, you knew straight away that she's going to be a good mother.
Yeah. If you want to have kids, if that's like the main thing, I knew that straight away with Lucy, my wife. I knew she was going to be a fantastic mom. I knew she was caring. I knew she was going to take care of me. I knew, like, our relationship was, I fight UFC, you do whatever I want. Like, I went to America, you come to America. Mm-hmm. You know, she came with me. She followed me for years, you know, and she supported me for years before it was so obvious that she was like on my team. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a battle. There was never a problem. It was like I needed someone. I'm like you, want to go out, want to conquer, want to make loads of money, want to do this. You got to support me. Cool, I'll support you. So, but if a woman's going to do, I want equality and I want this and I want this and you need to do this. Okay, that's not the right match.
Yeah.
You know, shake David. But it's like, you need to find the person who's going to improve your life. That's what I used to say about, like, I'm a better man when I'm with my wife. Like, I'm a better man because of her. She supports me 100%. And I had this conversation recently as well about divorce with someone. It's like, my wife has built me. Without my wife, I wouldn't be the man that I am. You know, because without her, I'd have never had my support network. We traveled the world together. Like I said, we lived in California together for 2-3 years. Without her, I would have been off doing God knows what. You know what I mean? So she, now at home with my kids, I'm here in Dubai, I'm doing whatever I'm doing. I'm always traveling. I'm in London next week. After that, I'm in Budapest. After that, I'm in Croatia. I'm out making money, doing deals, doing whatever. And without her at home looking after the kids, it's not possible. So I could never be the man that I am without her. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think she doesn't get enough credit through society's eyes for what I achieve, or for my family or for my friends, or probably even from my eyes. She doesn't get enough credit for what she does. At least she doesn't feel that way, because without her, it's not possible. And if you find a woman that is willing to do that and be your like B-side and support you, then I think marriage is a great idea. And I think family is what we're all here for. Mm-hmm. You know, divorce it comes from so many different angles. So it's very difficult. But a lot of guys I know, there's a guy I'm coaching right now who just went through a breakup because he's attracted to all the wrong things. You know, we're attracted to the Instagram life, you know? It's like, I don't think you're going to meet a good wife on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, because finding women now that it's much harder to find a good woman now, because the way the world has developed with the internet is much, much harder. I met my wife 11 years ago when it was just beginning. Like, the Instagram didn't exist. Twitter didn't exist, or maybe it just about did. Like, it was a very different world now. Accessibility now for women is crazy. Tate always tells the story of like the yacht, like 19-year-old Moldovan girl on a yacht. How did she get there? Just a DM in Instagram. How did the man get on the yacht? He had to buy it, yeah. You know? So it's like, it's very, very difficult it's a landscape I don't really understand now, to be honest. Like, I understood the landscape 10 years ago, but now Instagram's changed the game.
Yeah. But I think you can, I feel like I have quite a lot of experience with women, and sometimes you can just tell, like, if someone is a good person, they have a good heart. And then you can just tell by just going on their social media and see that what is the type of content that they're posting. If they are posting themselves in bikinis, like bending over, getting their ass out, then okay, they're really thirsty for attention, and they're probably not going to be the best girlfriend.
It's obvious to me. It's absolutely obvious when you look at these people. But what our mind says and what our dick says are maybe two different things. You know what I mean? So it's again, it comes down to mentality and what you're looking for and what you want. If that's what you want, then maybe don't get married. You know what I mean? But if you're looking for longevity and you're looking for love, if love exists, that's a whole different question. But yeah, I think it's a different landscape now. It's very, very difficult for young guys for young guys especially. Like now the world is so hard to be like a 20-year-old dude. It's so hard because there's guys like you out there crushing it. You know what I mean? And it's like, how am I going to compete with this guy?
But I've noticed as well, like there's some people who are crushing it, but they're maybe only 22, 23, and they don't have that life experience, which women are very attracted to. So even then, you can't win.
No, exactly. You can't win because you don't have that. Like I said, you don't have the experiences that build you into the quality of man of being someone that has life experience and stories and understands how the world works. And that's what women want. They want a man that can protect them and knows about the world, And a 22-year-old guy who's crushing it and made a load of money.
Just be patient. Like it's going to come, but just continue focusing on your business, communication.
I think becoming the best version of yourself. I think I was lucky with my. I honestly think there's no other way to put it but being lucky with my wife, because I think becoming the best possible version of yourself and then attracting the best possible version of a mate, if you want to say, like for life, doesn't happen to a man till he's 35, 36, 37, 38, even 40. He doesn't become his ultimate guy, Yeah. So I lucked out. Because I was a different kind of world as well. I met my wife just as I got into UFC. And I was like, I thought I was at like peak of my life. I wasn't. I'm definitely not at my peak yet, but I felt like I was. And I think I made the decision on being I'm at the best I'm ever going to be. And this is the best version of a woman I'm ever going to meet, and I'm going to marry her. That's kind of how I made the decision. And I think it's still played out over time. Like I think now she's still the best version for all the characteristics that I want. But I think that would be my advice to young guys. Like,
and she stayed with you after you got knocked out.
That's
pretty good.
Actually, exactly. And that's something I used to always say to kids now. Like that moment, we'll talk about that dark moment. I actually took a picture with her and her friend Kim, and I posted it saying like, life's not that bad. But it was terrible. But like, it's when you get knocked out or you have those. You get knocked out's a bit of an extreme version, but you have those down, dark, horrible times. It's like, if you've done all that work to fight, I spent 3 months training the Mammakhalidov fight. I spent 4 months every day of my life training to beat Mammakhalidov. I got knocked out in 21 seconds. But the result of those 4 months, you know what I mean, doesn't reflect who I am. Mm-hmm. It does to the world, it does to your fight career, it does to the money that you make, and it does, but it doesn't reflect all this hard work that I've achieved. I am still 4 months more deadly and 4 months better and 4 months fitter and 4 months than I would be if I didn't take on this challenge. So you have to try and frame it in a positive way that you have come so far. And in fighting where you say, like, I would beat the shit out of my version of myself 4 months ago. Mm-hmm. So I have improved as a man. And that's what I think. The dark moments, that's how I look at them now. If I go through a problem, I just look at how far I've come to get to that problem, and that's how it helps me deal with it because of that fighting mentality. I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe I lost at this, but look at if I'd looked at myself 6 months ago, I would have lost a lot worse, or whatever it would be. And that those dark moments, that's how I pulled myself back from it, I think, is understanding the hard work that's gone into it. And life's everyone says life is short. And it is short. Like we're going to live 80 years, 100 years. I mean, my wife believes we're going to be 120 and healthy, but just because she's a psycho. But it's also very long. Like a year could go like that, but it also day by day is very, very, very long. So when you have these bad moments and you're struggling, and I got knocked out by Mammakhalidov, I thought, like when I left the UFC, I was 28, I think. Thought my life was over. I thought it was over. It was like, when I look back now, I think it's crazy to think like that. You think like I got so much time from that moment. So when like your girlfriend breaks up with you, or you're in this dark place, or you're struggling, you got so much time. And that experience, like I'm saying about the Tates now, this experience now, they're going to be in prison probably for 6 months. That 6 months is going to make them billions of dollars. You just have to leverage those negative experiences and turn them into positive ones. And you only get to do that by going through the hard stuff. If you're trying to avoid hard stuff all the time, so eventually hard stuff's going to come your way. So if you just avoid, and then something happens, because it's going to happen. It's inevitable. You're going to get old. You're going to lose people. People are going to get sick. You're going to lose your parents. Like, life's going to be tough. And if you're not equipped to deal with it, it's going to break you. And the only way to equip yourself to deal with hard situations is to force yourself to do hard stuff. And then you become immune to it. And it's like, you just become stronger. And then when that bad thing happens, you can deal with it, you know? And I think now we're all taught to like seek comfort, to become comfortable, and to try, and society wants us to be this, you know, loser that just is comfortable with the life that they have. And then when someone comes and breaks it down, you break down. It's like, if you seek uncomfortable situations, you just become stronger. When you're comfortable, no one's ever, oh, life's so good. No one's got better from life being good. I say this about fighting. I don't remember the fights I won, but I remember the fights that I lost. Every single one of them. I remember them because that said to me, right, I got to get better. When you win, you're like, I'm the man.
Yeah.
Being the man doesn't help nothing. Like, it doesn't make you any better. It's like, you got to, so why, if that's the mentality, why do you avoid the hard stuff? Why do you not do the hard stuff? That, like you said, you can feel stressed now, but you're stressed because you're avoiding doing the things that you know you've got to do because you know they're going to be hard, because you're like, oh, if I do that. So this will be easier if I just go here. I need to chill out. It's like, you'd be much more chilled out if you just did the hard thing. And when the hard thing's done, you feel good about yourself and you feel clean and you feel good, you know? So it's, I have this conversation a lot with my clients that are like in a bad relationship. You know, they know they're in a bad relationship. They know the girl's not right for them, but just break up with the girl. Yeah, but no.
Yeah, they're too comfortable and they're afraid of being in a situation like being single.
Being alone.
Like, oh, maybe I'm not going to find someone like it.
Come on. What is wrong with you? Like, I can't understand it. So I had, a client recently, he broke up with his girl after I basically forced him to. And like 3 or 4 days later, he was like, oh, she's messaging me. I'm like, why is she messaging you? Why do you even, she's dead, bro. Yeah. Like, forget about her. Like, it's over. We're just moving forward now. And he was having this emotional response. I was like, what are you doing? Worrying about this one person? This guy is a multi-millionaire who could attract anyone that he wants. He's in great shape. He's funny. He's like, you know, he's like everything that you want. And he's worried about some girl that, it's just like, bro, she's toxic and horrible and evil. Like, don't talk to her. Why you're going to find the perfect woman. Yeah. Just forget about her. But he couldn't forget about her, and he struggled with it mentally because he couldn't believe, I don't think I'm going to find anyone else as good as her. Come on, bro. So it's just the limitations that he set in his mind. And you see it all the time. You see it especially in that situation. They don't want to go through the hard thing of having to find someone else. I'll just stay with this one. She's all right. But she's not. She's terrible. Yeah. You know, and she's sucking the life out of him.
You can see that some celebrities with the worst wife.
Yeah.
So bad. How's life in Marbella?
Incredible, bro. I traveled the world pretty much, and I don't know where else I would live. I can't think of a better place to raise kids, to live most of the year round, like to have a family, for expense, to the ratio of like money to experience. Like in Marbella, you can go skiing in the winter. It's like an hour and a half away. You can go to Sierra Nevada. You got the life of partying and having a good time and nice, exclusive, expensive restaurants. You got all that sort of stuff. But then I can go to the beach with my kids and drink coffee for €1 and just chill out. I've got like nature. There's mountains, blah, blah. An hour away, I can drive to lakes. Like, I've got everything that you could want. Like, amazing gyms there, as you know. Loads of interesting people come through Marbella. It's a destination. People come visit me. It's very, very hard to beat. Dubai is amazing for other reasons, but I can't, for now, since I lived in California, I have to be by the ocean.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah, I need to be within reach of nature. And Dubai's great for business, for work, but I don't feel the soul here that I feel in Marbella. And I feel my kids are going to have an amazing upbringing there. And my daughter's 3 and she speaks 2 languages. She's speaks better Spanish than I do. And she's, I think it's just such an amazing place for them. And I haven't found a balance like that anywhere else. Especially because I don't like Spain. I like Marbella. There's a big difference because I used to.
I know there's a big difference as well. It's like its own country.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the Vatican. It's like its own little independent place because it's like international. You got Swedish people there. You got German people there. You got Russian people there. You got everyone's there. You know. So if they had that, my favorite country to visit on holiday is Italy because I love the food. I love the coffee. I love they've got everything too. But they have nowhere for foreigners like an international spot, you know, the same, really, like Marbella. And also what I like about Marbella is there's super wealthy guys and then there's super poor guys. There's a huge bandwidth of people. There's not just everyone's mega rich. Like you go to Monaco and everyone's got, it's just like, you feel like a peasant, you know what I mean? But you have, I think people struggling, they've got character. You know, especially in fighting. I think because I'm involved in fighting as well, like I like to see that grit, you know. So yeah, it's tough to find that balance anywhere else. But
so yeah, what's next for you?
I mean, now I'm really trying to scale this business that I've built online. The war room is going crazy now with the Tate situation. Once Tate comes out, we're all waiting for that moment, and once it's going to go parabolic. Once Tate comes out, life's going to be crazy. My personal brand that I've got through selling this mentorship that I've been doing, it's been crazy for me the last 6 months since I launched it. And now I'm really trying to double down on that this year and see where it takes me. To be honest, I'm going to start a podcast studio in Marbella. That's going to be April. So I'm going to start my own podcast studio. I'm going to probably start my own podcast. As you could probably tell,
I'll most definitely be using that studio when I go there this summer.
definitely. And as you can tell, I like to talk. Yeah. So
no, I think that's a good thing to do because as far as I know, there's no one in Spain doing like a good, at least English podcast. Yeah. And there's a lot of interesting people in Marbella for sure.
Through. We won't have a view like this. That's not going to happen, unfortunately. You smashed it, but I think it's going to be the start of something big for me, and getting out there and podcasting. So I'm going to try and send my message. You know, like my message is extremely similar to Tate's message on men trying to become the best version of themselves, and like the real message that he's trying to send out, not all the other stuff that he's been caught up in. And I think that message is in super necessary right now in the world, and I think I'm a good person to deliver that message with the fighing background.
I don't know anybody with a fighting background that is doing what you're doing. That's one of the reasons why you stood out to me, because we were saying before, like they're a good thing in a way. I know a lot of people speak about them, but that makes you different from everyone else. And you can see, combine that with the fact that he's making money, he's got a good life, but he also knows how to fight as well. Like automatically you look like a capable, interesting man. That's why I wanted to get you on the podcast.
I appreciate that. It's been great. You know, I'm new in this space as well with podcasting and everything else. So I know I stand out. Like I said, I'm 6'6", got these big ears. I'm English. I got an abrasive personality. I like to talk. And I've always been a guy that's been remembered wherever I go. Even here at this apartment, I stayed in another one before and the reception remembered me. So they like, oh, hey, how are you? And I'm like, yeah. So it's good for certain things, but I can't commit any crimes, put it that way, because I'll be easily spotted. But no, it's been great to chat with you, and I'm super happy to be on it.
Where can everyone find you?
Best place to find me is on Instagram. I'm super active there, and it's at Luke Barnatt. And then you can see all my information on there, and we can look at my courses and everything else that I teach and I show. And if anyone's interested in joining the War Room, they can DM me there as well. And I deal with new applications for people that want to join. And that's like pretty much all I do now at the moment. But I'm going to be on everything soon.
There's a lot of things going to happen, I can tell.
Yeah, it's the beginning.
Yeah.
We have only just begun.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Pleasure, mate. Appreciate it.